Sarah watched the rain trail down the window, each drop blurring the gray buildings of Insight Corp. The small conference room felt unusually cold. Across the table sat Andrea from HR and Tom, her manager, both wearing careful expressions. Andrea cleared her throat gently, pushing a thin folder toward Sarah. "The company's restructuring," she began softly. "We're merging your department. Unfortunately, your role will no longer exist." Tom shifted uneasily, refusing to meet her gaze. After nearly 12 years of dedication, Sarah's position was being erased with a few polite words. She took a slow, steady breath, feeling her heart pound, but kept her face calm. She'd expected this ever since catching whispers near the coffee machine 2 weeks earlier. Andrea continued, voice gentle but distant, explaining the severance. 2 weeks' pay for every year, 3 months' insurance, job counseling brochures Sarah knew she'd never open. Tom finally looked up, relief evident that she wasn't making a scene. They probably expected tears or pleading. Instead, Sarah offered a polite nod, accepting the folder quietly. They saw a woman nearing 50, outdated and expendable. But Sarah had seen the signs, emails sent by mistake, hurried meetings ending abruptly when she entered. "Friday will be your last day," Andrea added, waiting cautiously for Sarah's reaction. Sarah stood, forcing a smile, her voice steady. "I understand completely," she said. As she left the room, she felt their eyes on her back, wondering why she seemed so calm. Back at her desk, Sarah glanced at the bustling workspace she'd built from scratch. The team she'd mentored worked busily, unaware their leader had just been dismissed. Her thoughts flashed to CEO Mark Phillips, who'd proudly presented her groundbreaking software at industry conferences, never mentioning Sarah's name. She picked up her phone and sent a simple text. "It's done. Meeting tonight." The reply buzzed instantly. "Everything is ready." Sarah leaned back, feeling the tension finally ease. Insight Corp had underestimated her. Quietly, she'd already secured her future. Monday would begin a new life. Mark's arrogance would soon crumble. Smiling privately, she slipped the phone into her pocket and gathered her belongings. For the first time in weeks, Sarah felt in control. That evening, Sarah arrived at Luna, a discreet restaurant hidden from prying corporate eyes. Jonathan Blake, CEO of VisionTech, Insight Corp's fiercest rival, waited patiently. A trusted friend and industry titan, Jonathan understood the power of discretion. "I can't believe they actually went through with it," he said, shaking his head as they settled into the dimly lit booth. Sarah nodded, eyes sparkling with quiet determination. "Mark never truly grasped my technology," she explained calmly. "He saw profits, not potential." Jonathan passed a neatly stacked document toward her. "VisionTech is thrilled to welcome you officially," he said warmly. Sarah scanned the generous offer, feeling vindicated. Everything she'd meticulously prepared was finally unfolding. Her reputation and innovation would no longer be hidden behind someone else's shadow. Friday arrived quickly, marked by whispered goodbyes and forced smiles from coworkers who didn't know what to say. Sarah calmly placed family photos, awards, and personal notebooks into a cardboard box. Andrea from HR stopped by, eyes gentle with false concern. "Sarah, we're really sorry. These things aren't personal," she murmured awkwardly. Sarah paused, briefly meeting her gaze. "Of course," she replied evenly, sliding her carefully wrapped innovation award into the box. The irony wasn't lost on her. Insight Corp had proudly given her that trophy for the very technology they undervalued now. Andrea lingered hesitantly. "Do you have any plans yet?" she asked cautiously. Sarah smiled mysteriously, her voice confident. "Actually, I start something new on Monday." Andrea blinked, caught completely off guard. On Monday morning, sunlight spilled through VisionTech's gleaming lobby windows. Sarah felt excitement pulse through her chest as she stepped into her spacious new office. At 8 sharp, Jonathan knocked lightly, holding his phone. "Our announcement just went live," he said, smiling. "The industry's already buzzing about you." Sarah checked her screen, scanning the headline. VisionTech names Sarah Mitchell, creator of revolutionary software, new Chief Technology Officer. It clearly stated her ownership of the patent, an innovation Insight Corp foolishly neglected to secure. At 9:20, texts flooded her phone. Her former team leader, Ben, wrote urgently, "Complete chaos here. Management is panicking. Did you really patent your tech privately?" Sarah smiled, replying quickly, "Check your personal email. VisionTech has offers waiting for everyone." A Across town, Insight Corp's executive boardroom had transformed into a battlefield. Mark Phillips paced frantically, demanding explanations from the legal team. Investors were calling relentlessly, stock prices dropping sharply as news spread. Sarah's patent was legally solid. Her careful documentation and time-stamped records confirmed everything. VisionTech's legal team had anticipated every move Insight might make, ensuring Sarah's ownership was untouchable. Mark fired off desperate emails, pleading with Sarah directly for a meeting. His message vibrated on her phone screen. "Please call immediately. Misunderstanding about ownership. Let's discuss options." Calmly, she forwarded it to VisionTech's lawyers without a reply. Her phone buzzed again. "Ben, updating. Mark just called an emergency meeting. Everyone's panicked. They know you've won." Sarah felt a quiet, deep satisfaction. Tuesday morning brought renewed energy as Sarah gathered her new team at VisionTech. Ben and 5 others from Insight Corp, eager and grateful, listened intently. Sarah outlined ambitious plans, empowering them with creative freedom they'd never known. Afterwards, Jonathan stopped by with exciting news. 2 major Insight clients had already called, asking about switching immediately. Sarah smiled, feeling genuinely respected for the first time in years. Midday, Insight Corp announced a sudden leadership shakeup. Mark Phillips stepped down immediately, along with the head of HR and legal counsel responsible for the patent oversight. An email from Insight's new interim CEO appeared in Sarah's inbox. "We want to discuss licensing fairly. Your contributions will be publicly acknowledged." Sarah leaned back, savoring the moment. Justice was finally served. By Thursday morning, Insight Corp's emergency had deepened. Industry headlines screamed about their costly blunder, causing investors to pull back even further. Sarah calmly read the news from her new VisionTech office, sipping coffee as sunlight poured warmly through tall windows. At 10 a.m., Jonathan appeared in her doorway, his expression triumphant. Insight's attorneys finally reached out. "They're willing to negotiate, fully acknowledging your patent rights." Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "Make sure the terms reflect their mistake." Jonathan smiled knowingly, understanding her intention perfectly. Minutes later, Ben messaged Sarah privately. "Management admitted defeat internally today. Morale's collapsing." She replied simply, "Their loss is our gain." Sarah returned to planning VisionTech's next big project, deeply aware of the strength she'd reclaimed after years of quiet invisibility. Friday evening marked exactly 1 week since Sarah's departure. She met Jonathan for dinner at Luna, the very place they'd first sealed their alliance. Jonathan raised a glass to celebrate their extraordinary achievement. Insight's stock dropped another 5% today. "Ours rose sharply," he said, admiration in his voice. Sarah smiled modestly, absorbing the sense of triumph. She glanced around the softly lit restaurant, reflecting on how quickly fortunes had shifted. Jonathan leaned forward, sincerity evident. "Your courage is inspiring many, Sarah. Your story is spreading fast." She nodded, touched by the thought of younger innovators standing up for themselves, learning from her example. Quietly, Sarah realized she hadn't just reclaimed her career. She'd ignited a movement, empowering others to protect their worth. On Monday morning, Sarah's influence became clearer. Invitations flooded her inbox. Tech conferences, industry forums, and mentorship events sought her expertise. At VisionTech's executive briefing, Sarah presented confidently, outlining the company's technological future with her software at its core. Board members listened intently, openly respecting her perspective. Jonathan watched proudly, acknowledging her commanding presence. Later, Sarah received an unexpected phone call from Andrea, Insight's former HR lead. Hesitantly, Andrea asked, "Would you consider returning to Insight? We're implementing your strategies company-wide." Sarah paused thoughtfully, then responded calmly, "I appreciate the gesture, but my future lies elsewhere." Hanging up, Sarah felt no bitterness, just peaceful certainty. Her journey wasn't about revenge. It was about dignity, recognition, and reshaping an entire industry's understanding of value. 1 month after Sarah's exit, Insight Corp reluctantly published a public apology acknowledging her innovation and role as the software's true creator. The tech community buzzed, praising Sarah's courage and precision. VisionTech's reputation soared, surpassing Insight in market valuation for the first time ever. Jonathan visited Sarah's office, holding an official valuation report. "We finally did it," he said warmly. Sarah read the numbers, deeply satisfied. Later that evening, she attended a charity gala, surprised as countless attendees thanked her personally, inspired by her integrity. Young developers approached, seeking advice about protecting their ideas. Sarah offered encouragement, emphasizing meticulous documentation. Returning home, she reflected gratefully. Her quiet battle had sparked lasting change, reshaping perceptions about innovation, age, and the true meaning of professional respect. Sarah's transformation continued beyond professional success. News outlets featured her story, describing her as a symbol of resilience. Invitations multiplied. Panels, podcasts, and interviews wanted Sarah's insights on workplace ethics and innovation protection. At a packed industry conference, Sarah spoke passionately, urging professionals to value genuine talent over appearances. Her speech ended to thunderous applause. Afterwards, Jonathan greeted her backstage, grinning proudly. "You've changed the conversation completely," he said. She smiled warmly, feeling empowered. Her assistant suddenly approached, whispering urgently, "Insight Corp's interim CEO, Paul Reed, wants a brief meeting." Curious, Sarah nodded approval. Paul stepped forward respectfully, extending a hand. "Sarah, Insight learned a tough lesson from you. Thank you for forcing us to reconsider our values." She accepted gracefully, recognizing sincere growth. 2 months after joining Vision Tech, Sarah watched proudly as her former Insight colleagues thrived under her leadership. Ben had developed significant improvements, enhancing her original software even further. The team radiated excitement, confident in their talents without fear of overshadowing or dismissal. Jonathan visited frequently, observing Sarah's steady guidance with admiration. "You're creating something special here," he told her sincerely one afternoon. Sarah smiled gently, realizing the truth in his words. Vision Tech had become a haven for innovation and genuine respect, exactly the environment she'd dreamed of for years. That evening, she received an award nomination, recognizing her courage in reshaping industry standards. Reading it, she felt deeply humbled. Her quiet struggle had sparked a profound movement, reminding everyone to honor innovation authentically. As Sarah prepared her keynote speech for the prestigious Women in Technology Summit, she reflected on her journey. Only months ago, she'd felt invisible, undervalued. Now she stood as a respected voice, inspiring thousands. Walking onto the stage that night, she saw hundreds of eager faces staring back, hopeful and attentive. She spoke calmly yet powerfully, detailing her experiences without bitterness. "Innovation belongs to those who create it," she emphasized clearly. "Never allow others to diminish your worth." Afterwards, dozens of young professionals approached, deeply inspired. Sarah took time to listen to each, offering heartfelt encouragement. Returning home, she felt genuine fulfillment, not merely from her achievements, but because she'd empowered others to demand the recognition and dignity they deserved. Insight Corp eventually stabilized under new leadership, openly crediting Sarah's example for their transformation. Former colleagues reported dramatic improvements. Innovation was celebrated, contributions recognized openly. Sarah watched this shift without animosity, genuinely satisfied she'd catalyzed real change. At Vision Tech, her team flourished, consistently producing groundbreaking ideas. Sarah felt profound pride watching their growth, grateful she'd created an environment prioritizing genuine talent. Jonathan recognized her transformative impact openly, calling Sarah the company's heart. Her career, previously overshadowed, had now blossomed into powerful visibility. Invitations continued flowing, yet Sarah remained humble, determined to keep supporting others. Privately, she often remembered the rainy afternoon of her dismissal, appreciating how adversity had shaped her strength. Quietly, she recognized this truth. Sometimes losing everything reveals exactly what you're worth. 6 months later, Sarah sat quietly at Vision Tech's annual gala, elegantly dressed and surrounded by colleagues who genuinely admired her. Jonathan stepped to the podium, warmly introducing her achievements, praising her integrity and innovation. As applause filled the room, Sarah rose slowly, humbled by the acknowledgement she'd fought so long to earn. Taking the stage, she spoke openly, urging industry leaders to respect ideas and the people behind them. She ended by saying softly, "Real innovation isn't just technology, it's about respecting those who create it." The audience rose instantly, giving her a heartfelt standing ovation. Sarah felt deeply fulfilled, realizing her journey had brought genuine change, inspiring others to speak up, value themselves, and never silently accept being overlooked again. Afterwards, Sarah moved gracefully through the crowd, stopping to speak personally with familiar faces. Suddenly, she noticed Andrea, the former HR manager from Insight, approaching hesitantly. Andrea offered an embarrassed but sincere smile. "Sarah, I owe you an apology," she admitted softly. "We underestimated you. Underestimated everything you stood for." Sarah paused thoughtfully, then replied gently, "Mistakes help us grow, Andrea. Your willingness to recognize that means more than an apology." Andrea's eyes filled briefly with tears of gratitude. They exchanged a warm handshake, genuine reconciliation achieved. Later, Jonathan found Sarah smiling knowingly. "You've changed more than companies," he whispered kindly. Sarah nodded slowly, feeling at peace. Her experience had turned pain into purpose, transforming not only careers but hearts as well. 1 year from her dismissal, Sarah stood on a sunny balcony overlooking the city skyline. Vision Tech had just surpassed every projection, becoming an undisputed industry leader thanks to Sarah's vision. Jonathan joined her quietly, carrying 2 champagne glasses. "Happy anniversary," he said warmly. Sarah smiled appreciatively, raising her glass to the setting sun. "It's incredible," Jonathan continued thoughtfully, "how far integrity can take you." Sarah nodded softly, reflecting on the powerful lessons she'd learned. She now understood that her worth had never depended on others' acknowledgement. It was hers alone. The door opened gently behind them, and Ben stepped out, smiling proudly. "Your story changed everything, Sarah," he said. She realized then, her greatest innovation wasn't technology. It was teaching others to truly value themselves. Today, Sarah's journey has become a powerful lesson within the tech world, teaching countless professionals about courage, respect, and true innovation. She continues mentoring young talents, ensuring they understand their value, empowering them to protect and claim their ideas openly. Her experiences remind everyone never to underestimate their own potential. Reflecting on Sarah's powerful story, we'd love to hear from you. What do you think about Sarah's journey? Have you ever experienced something similar? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more inspiring content, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue bringing powerful, real-life lessons to inspire and empower you. Until next time, stay courageous, keep innovating, and know your worth.